Hello, my name is Jason Dutil, and this is my case study response. So I want to start out with talking about facts about the school. So St. Regis School is first off is a small town school. It's situated from a large city that is about 25 miles away. It has about 420 students that are in grades K through 4. There are two teachers for each of the grade levels and two special education teachers for the entire school. So when we consider funding for the school, there is inadequate state revenue. However, there's two major fundraisers that help the school, and one of the beneficiaries and support from the PTA, uh, they help out with that fundraising. The school's annual budget provides materials for teachers, and then there's some money that's allocated for technology. So identifying the situation of the case here. So we start off with Mrs. Lynn, who is the library media specialist and a computer lab teacher, who is diligently working on trying to serve students by helping teachers get what they need to better serve those students. So she provided all the teachers with a form to request specific programs to use in the computer lab. So after about 4 months of successful use in the computer lab, which is a wonderful thing, teachers started advocating to have the software available in each of their classrooms. So without consulting Principal Sample, Mrs. Lynn agreed to copy the programs, and Mrs. Evans, the PTA president, assisted her as they made copies of the software without any regard to the copyrighted material. So, what do we have? We have copyright violations. So when Mrs. Lynn attempted to distribute the programs in third grade classrooms, this is what happened. Mrs. Williams, an experienced teacher, was more than happy about the installation of the software. However, Mrs. Brandon, who is a new teacher at the school, was not happy, and she refused the installation of the software because she was concerned about the copyright violations. So, Mrs. Lynn then was not happy either because she was not happy about being questioned by a new teacher of the school. So as a result of this conflict, Mrs. Brandon, the new teacher, consulted with Principal Sample to express her concerns about the copyright violations. So Principal Sample learned about the situation and made a point to talk to Mrs. Lynn about collecting the copies. Mrs. Lynn took a disrespectful tone, suggesting that she would call the PTA and then dismiss the grievance by Mrs. Brandon. So in order to safeguard the school, Principal Sample complimented Mrs. Lynn then and asked her just to collect all the copies of the software and stop making other copies. So on to section 2, the legal and ethical issues with the scenario. There is a need for future action to prevent this scenario from happening in the future. So since there was a clear violation of copyright law with the reproduction of computer software, there needs to be more oversight to ensure the proper licensing of all computer programs being used. The school board policy for copyrighted infringement should be adhered to, and if there is no policy whatsoever, then Principal Sample should advocate for one to be drafted and then implemented. So finally, more trainings need to be implemented to educate teachers about copyright law and other existing laws that can affect their jobs and the school. So that leads us to structural changes. More structural changes should be made to ensure that the principal of the school is first looped in before making any of these broad changes that would affect the way students are served at the school. So as we have a new teacher with a legitimate grievance, other teachers may not see her grievance as legitimate then, and this may affect the morale of teachers around the building, and Mrs. Brandon may be viewed as not a member of the team. So Principal Sample needs to take a proactive approach to promote and encourage a structural change with supportive practices within the school, because after all, the goal is to promote a positive school climate. So on to section 3. So in disregard for copyright law, the librarian and media specialist and the president of the Parent and Teachers Association created copies of computer software with the intention of distributing the copies of the program throughout the school. So this is exactly what happened. So as far as the other information that was presented in the scenario, there was some information that wasn't there. For instance, there was missing people like the vice principal. Do I have a vice principal? Right? Are these delegated roles and responsibilities to justify why Principal Sample was not informed of a major change? Other grade teachers and special education teachers within the building were kind of missing because there was no general consensus, only consensus from the third grade teacher. Um, or a general consensus rather from the overall population, but no specific consensus really. Office personnel, was there any input from them? Because office personnel, someone was probably in charge of purchasing of the programs. So maybe they had some input as far as distributing the programs. And then, of course, was the superintendent notified? Principals have an obligation sometimes to notify the superintendent to give them a heads up in case there's any legality issues that might come up. Also, missing places. Schools within the school district, for instance. Are there any district approved policies about copyright use? And if so, how do they handle situations like this at other schools? And then, of course, the district administrator's office, because there might be policies and even a legal committee that could be used for consultation or issue guidance. And finally, missing programs, trainings, and in-services. Have teachers had any existing training programs on copyright law? If not, how can we update those trainings to ensure compliance or bring us into compliance? And what kind of additional resources are available or should be available for teachers to assist them with technology questions and concerns in the future? So Section 5, as I reflect on this evaluation, or as I do a reflective evaluation of this scenario, the situation that was created by Mrs. Lin should have been avoidable, as her role as a librarian includes being a media specialist. Though she is a valuable employee that is willingly wears multiple hats within the school, Mrs. Lin's actions could be damaging to the school. The school could be held liable for copyright violations. And if the school is held liable, the school district would face an even bigger financial hardship if a legal battle would ensue. Therefore, Principal Sample has an obligation to act to ensure that St. Regis School remains compliant with the law. Section 6, improve and develop. So here are 3 options for improving and developing on a plan. Okay? So option 1 is take no action. Principal Sample could take no further action and explain to the teachers that once the programs are collected, students will only use the computer lab. So they'll just continue using the computer lab like they have been for the past 4 months. So improvement and development, option 2 would be the most liberal action, could be that Principal Sample could become a micromanager and micromanage Mrs. Lin and assist her with the deletion of the classroom programs and with the formatting of the flash drives to really ultimately ensure complete compliance of copyright laws. And the last option could be like intermediate strategies that could be implemented, such as Principal Sample could work together with Mrs. Lin and Mrs. Brandon to brainstorm what needs to be done in ensuring what we need to do to remain compliant and with all copyright laws, but still use the programs legally and in the most effective way. So then a committee could also be formed to research and explore how St. Regis School could meet their technology needs. So evaluating these plans. Plan number 1, do nothing. The pro is less work, right? The con of that is staff could be disgruntled, feel unsupported, and no action could lead to a negative school culture, with a lot of much ado with the drama that came about. The most liberal plan could be Principal Sample can be assured that the school is not liable for copyright violation as a pro. A con of that would be Mrs. Lin could feel personally disgruntled, feel unsupported, and no action could lead to a negative school culture. And finally, an intermediate plan, a pro of that could be the school community is being promoted through this plan as there's a problem, and then a Principal Sample is encouraging a team response to work on that problem. A con of that, however, might be that staff may still disagree and conflicts may still happen. So Section 8 is developing of a plan. So here we go. Here's a plan. Talk to Mrs. Lin. First, we want to talk to Mrs. Lin and Mrs. Brandon to brainstorm what needs to be done with ensuring that we remain compliant with the copyright law to use purchase programs legally with the proper licenses and in the most effective way. Next thing we could do in the plan for is to form a committee to research and explore how St. Regis can meet its technology needs. Also, we can meet with the president of the PTA to ensure them that we are working diligently to meet the needs of our students and offer resources and educational assistance with the understanding about the legal ramifications of violating copyright laws. Another part of the plan could be to plan and schedule trainings for all staff that focus on copyright laws. And a part of this plan needs to be the idea that we're going to promote staff morale opportunities, plan staff events, and generate ideas on how to maintain a positive school culture. So that way, we keep up that morale that might come from these types of conflicts. And then also, we're going to call and update the superintendent on the current plan and to receive any possible feedback from the superintendent. Section 9. Okay, now we're going to implement the plan. What may happen when we implement it? Mrs. Lind may become disgruntled or feel invalidated as a valued member of St. Regis School. Teachers may struggle with the fact they cannot use the programs legally in their classrooms. Mrs. Brandon may be viewed as a goody two-shoes or feel alienated by the reactions of other teachers. The principal's relationship with the PTA may be tested, and/or things could actually go smoothly, right? So, identifying who needs to know about this plan. Mrs. Lind definitely needs to know because she's someone who was involved in the situation directly. So she should be contacted immediately. Mrs. Brandon would also be contacted immediately as she reported it. And then, of course, all educational staff should know about the plan and its implementation. As the plan incorporates building and maintaining a positive school culture, too, support staff should be informed and considered as a valuable member of the school because their input matters as well. And then the PTA should be informed as they are a great asset to the school. They support the schools in many ways with the fundraisers and even volunteering. So determining how to deal with the different people within the situation. So Mrs. Lynn is shown to be a committed member of St. Regis School and maintaining a positive relationship with her is vital. Principal Sample needs to meet with her one-on-one and be understanding and empathetic to her motives for copying the programs. Even though she committed a copyright infringement, her motives for doing so were still clear and present, and that should still be conveyed. As a new teacher, Mrs. Brandon should be supported through the implementation process. Again, teachers could be disgruntled towards her personally, and she might feel alienated. So we definitely need to support her. And then, of course, meetings and communication should be sent out to remind staff that Principal Sample has an open door policy and that they are valued and respected. Teachers should always feel comfortable coming to the principal's office to express any type of grievance or problems, have any questions or concerns. If the plan of action does not work, then data should be collected to find out what worked and what did not. That could be done through teacher surveys and/or interviews. Once Principal Sample explores other resources and collects data, he will reach out to the superintendent and other principals within the district for support and guidance on any next steps. And then from this guidance, data, and the resources, another plan will be developed. This will be done as a collaborative process, though, with the research committee and members of the school. All right. Finally, we got to the end of the presentation. For the correlation to PLL 6, this completed case study correlates with this PLO Standard 6 Operations and Management by presenting a plan that addresses the laws, policies, and regulations related to copyright violations. Additionally, the completed case study shows my understanding of the situation presented and how it affects the overall school culture. This assignment was relevant to my current learning because it allowed me to see what it would be like to be a school principal and inform me about the types of decisions that I would have to make in that type of position. So as an educator, assignment impacts me because I know that I must do my part to ensure that the school maintains compliance with all laws and policies. And finally, reflecting on the overall assignment, it will impact my possible future as a building principal. One way that it would impact me as a future leader of the school is that I understand that I may not have the answers and may need to rely on other people for support. Principals shouldn't be expected to do it all either, just because they're the figurehead. There still needs to be collaboration, communication, that type of thing. And that's all important aspects of building a positive school culture. Another impact from this assignment is knowing that I cannot show favoritism towards a particular staff member. It is, if a veteran teacher, for instance, needs to be valued for their experience and their time served, but at the same time, it's about the overall school and the betterment of the entire school, not specific. Okay. All right. That would be the case study review here. Thank you all for a wonderful class, and I hope you all have a great day. Thanks.